Ghassan Hasbani, thank you very much for joining Mobile World Live TV today.
Thank you.
Can I ask you to describe the level of market development in your overseas operations?
Well, we operate in various markets from Asia to the Middle East, varying from Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Bahrain, Kuwait, Turkey, and South Africa. So effectively, we see a mix of development stages in these markets. Although all of them are effectively emerging markets, some of them are more mature and developed that contribute to our business in terms of cash and cash flows, whilst others are more long-term investments where we're deploying networks to see our returns in the next few years coming from those markets where most of the growth is expected to come from.
So what is your view on the role of regulators in emerging markets and how they can impact the economic development?
Today, regulators in emerging markets need to wake up to two facts that are extremely important for their economic development, to play a part in making sure that the level of competition is fair and that they encourage investments in new infrastructure to fulfill their government's objectives. Also, they need to move very quickly in terms of encouraging investments in the broadband infrastructure. The proliferation of broadband is extremely important in emerging markets. Accessibility to broadband is very important to economic development. And the faster regulators can actually manage this emerging situation, the more accelerated investments they will see in their infrastructure in their countries, which will indirectly bring many new opportunities to economic growth and development through the telecom sector.
So what are the particularities of cellular markets such as Indonesia or Malaysia? What is driving the growth in those countries?
What's driving growth in Indonesia, particularly Malaysia, is the emergence of the large youth population. Education is extremely good in those countries. There's a big youth population, demand for internet accessibility, as well as a huge usage of social networking sites across Indonesia. So this young population is creating a huge demand for data connectivity. We believe that this will drive growth in those markets. Indonesia is set to be one of the top 3 or 4 largest economies in the world by 2020, and that is predominantly driven by the growing youth population and prosperity in that market. So we look forward to the growth in that particular part of the world.
So how do you address the demand for high-speed services and smartphones?
What we do is make sure that we understand pretty much the usage pattern. We understand that those users are predominantly looking for not necessarily very high-speed connectivity, but activities on the internet that create networking opportunities. Social networking is very important. So we make sure that handset availability at affordable prices is there. We make sure that smartphones are affordable and accessible by everyone who wants to access them, while we build the right infrastructure based on classes of service to efficiently utilize our infrastructure across the country and make sure we have good data capacity at the right levels of service required by those users, each one of them based on his or her usage pattern.
So do you have any plans to deploy LTE in your overseas operations?
We are running LTE trials right now. We have one in Kuwait, one running in Bahrain, particularly that are close to launch. They are commercial trials. We definitely look at LTE as the next growth area in our portfolio, given that our focus is predominantly on making sure that we serve the Generation C, the connected generation, those who are entering the job markets today, the youth population. And in order to do that, we need to make sure we have the best broadband infrastructure. So LTE is on our short-term radar screen, and we're planning commercial launches very soon across our international operations.
So are outsourcing and network sharing important pillars of your strategy?
Outsourcing non-core activities is very important in terms of cost management, lowering capex and moving or deferring costs into a kind of OPEX situation. And depending on the stage of development of the markets where you want to be, but pretty much we are all for outsourcing or divesting non-core assets to make sure we focus on core capabilities, particularly serving and innovating to serve demand and go beyond.
Ghassan Hasbani, thank you very much for joining Mobile World Live TV today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.